whisper secrets dark and brave, eyes that pierce into the night. Monsters come, we must fight. Candles flicker, casting dread. Ghostly wails fill my head, chasing demons lost in time. Sanity, a steep climb. Off with his head, she screamed. Blood moon's eerie gleam. Battle cries through the dark, leaving fear's deep mark. Echoes of sins long past, fighting shadows deep and vast. Blood-stained blade in hand, stand your ground, make a stand. Cursed whispers fill the air, spirits cry, beware, beware. Through the fog and through the flame, monsters here know my name. Off with his head, she screamed. Blood moon's eerie gleam. Battle cries through the dark, leaving fear's deep mark. Off with his head, she screamed. Blood moon's eerie gleam. Battle cries through the dark, leaving fear's deep mark. Echoes of sins long past, fighting shadows deep and vast. Blood-stained blade in hand, stand your ground, make a stand. Cursed whispers fill the air, spirits cry, beware, beware. Through the fog and through the flame, monsters here know my name. Silence screams, hearts break, nightmares come wide awake. Warriors of woe take flight, darkened souls embrace the fight. Shadows crawl from the grave, whisper secrets dark and brave, eyes that pierce into the night. Monsters come, we must fight. Candles flicker, casting dread. Spirits cry, beware, beware. In the still night, whispers float. In the quiet, heartbeats slow. No clash, no roar, just silence. In the shadows, battles won. I see through foggy veils, no swords to raise, no cries to wail. Victory's touching ghostly hue. Darkness glows a pale blue. Silent shadows trace the ground. In this silence we are bound. Greatest victory found with these. No need to fight, no need to cease. Creeping through the twisted wood, echo shards where warriors stood. Just a breath, just a wish. No more war, no final fist. Wisdom whispers in the night, strength in peace, no need to fight. Winners walk in soft embrace, no battle scars, no deadly taste. Silent shadows trace the ground. In this silence we are bound. Greatest victory found.
everybody. Welcome to, I almost said another episode of Bitey's Breaks. Welcome to me screwing around. We're going to be doing character creation for Vampire the Masquerade, specifically V20. Couple people that I stream with have expressed interest in the game, and I've got to mess with my storyteller. So we're going to be making a joke character, first and foremost. And then if anyone in stream has some ideas, wants to see how to build a specific character, I'll help out with that. So, alright, first of all, excuse me. I'm at the stage where I'm kind of coming down with something, because 'tis the fucking season, right? So, I've got that set up, I've got that set up. Awesome. So, one of the important things, if you're completely new to Vampire the Masquerade, if you look at our character sheet, there is no level. Unlike a D&D, there is no level system. There's technically also no classes, but I'll argue that later. There are and there aren't. So, when you're making your character, another thing, the dice system is a little different in storyteller games, World of Darkness games, whether we're talking Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Changeling the Dreaming, etc., etc. In Magic the Gathering. In Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, those offshoot games, you roll a d20, you add your stats, you call it good. With this, you get a number of dots to add to your skills. Each dot is one d10 that you roll. So if I want to attack somebody, for example, if I'm trying to punch them, I would take my dex, the number of dots I have in there, added to my brawl. Alright. Selecting is being stupid. But anyway, dex plus brawl, and then any other bonuses for attacking from behind, attacking from the side, etc., etc. And that is the number of d10s I would roll. So, if I have a dex of 3 and a brawl of 3, I would roll 6 dice. The storyteller would set the DC, the difficulty. Typically, the difficulty is 6. Every dice that I roll that gets over a 6 is a success. Any 1 is a botch, in which case it not only counts as a failure, but it subtracts 1 success. You only need 1 success to succeed. Any additional successes just means you succeed better. In the case of combat, again, that me trying to punch somebody example, unless they're actively trying to dodge, block, or parry, I swing, I get 1 success, I hit. If I get 5 successes, 1 success is needed to hit, the other 4 carry over to damage. So increasing your accuracy becomes very important. Now, for this character, I want to go Chaos Gremlin. Usually I'm very much the kind of the rule guy, kind of the one who tries to keep the party on track. I'm kind of the adult in the room, and I'm tired. I don't want to be, and I told my storyteller I was going to fuck with him. So, my plan for this character, I don't have a name yet. I always do my name last. My concept... Chaos Gremlin Demolitionist. We are going to have some fun. Now, the setting for this is 1984 Seattle. So that's kind of the area that we're going to be playing in. That's kind of the area that we're going to be messing around in. Now, opening up my rule book. So, I'm going to follow the character creation process for the most part. I am going to deviate in 1 minute. But for this, step 1 is choose your concept, clan, nature, and demeanor. I'm going to do nature and demeanor first. So scrolling down, let's get to the full version of nature and demeanor. So, nature and demeanor is about your character. Very, very simply, nature is how your character truly is, what's important to them, how they interact with the world, their personality. Demeanor is how they present themselves to the world. So sometimes your nature and demeanor are very closely linked. For instance, one of the other characters, hey, Time. So I am actually going to let y'all choose that. I don't always make Malkavians. They are typically Malkavian adjacent, I'm not going to lie, but this character, I'm going to go through the clans. My only prerequisite, there are a couple clans I cannot pick because other people are already playing them, or my current character is one, and I don't want a repeat. I don't want to step on toes. So, I try to be. You know, I'm no good at lying. I always get that shit mixed up, so I just try not to fucking do it. But nature and demeanor. Typically, for a lot of times, they are very close, but you can have wildly conflicting nature and demeanor, and that's just story fodder, right? Like, explain why your character is like that. An important thing to remember. Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, basically any OGL style game came from a wargaming background. They tend to be very heavy on the rules. They tend to be very battle-based. World of Darkness games, you may have heard me earlier call them storyteller games, come from that narrative background. The story is everything in a World of Darkness game. Now, will it involve combat? Frequently, yes. But, so for this character, oh god, where was it? Because I had the perfect... Oh, come on, computer. If I have to work, you have to work. Alright, so, nature and demeanor for this character. Their nature is going to be trickster. They find the absurd in everything, no matter how grim life or unlife may become. The trickster always uncovers a kernel of humor within it. Tricksters cannot abide sorrow or pain, and so they strive to lighten the spirits of those around them, sometimes with flamethrowers. Anytime you manage to lift others' spirits, especially if you're able to assuage your own pain in the process, regain a point of willpower. That is very important. Willpower is an extremely vital resource that I'll go over a little bit later. But for demeanor, the way they present themselves, architect. At first glance, I meant for everything to happen exactly the way it did. I'm all about building, I'm all about establishing something of importance or lasting value. That's the way I present myself. In reality, I just want to fuck around and have fun. So, generation. Generation works. It is not a level system, though it is a rough gauge of power. In Vampire the Masquerade, in universe, right, in lore, all vampires are theoretically descended from Cain, the first vampire. What this means is every generation you are away from Cain, who is first generation, you are a little bit weaker. Your blood is a little thinner. It's not quite as pure. You can't do as much. By default, you are a 13th generation in this system. Different editions of Vampire the Masquerade. Vampire the Dark Ages, I believe, has you start out at 10th generation. V5 is 13th or 14th, etc., etc. We're going to start as a 13th generation, a newly changed vampire, and then as we make our character, that may or may not increase depending on what we want to do. So, going back to step 1. Character concept. We've chosen our concept, Chaos Goblin Demolitionist. We've chosen our nature and demeanor. Next up is our clan. Now, here's where I was saying earlier where a class system does and does not exist in Vampire the Masquerade. Officially, yeah, wrong thing. Officially, there are no classes in Vampire the Masquerade, and that's true. However, the clans, especially if you're coming from, again, that D&D background, the clans are roughly analogous to some classes. It's not exact, and once you choose a clan, you're not locked into that play style. For example, Tremere are very much the wizard, sorcerer, mage archetype. That's their thing. You can make a Tremere and then later pick up melee-based abilities and be a quote-unquote barbarian. That's certainly possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. So, going back to the clans, we are going to stick to just the basic clans. Don't worry about these 4 factions. I may explain them later. The game that I'm making this character for is in a Camarilla game. So, one other thing I want to point out, when Vampire went to 5th edition, they changed a lot of some of the names. Vampire was initially made in the 90s, and you can tell. And there are some things that modern audiences may find problematic. For example, The Assamites are Middle Eastern, blood-drinking, hashish-smoking assassins. Yeah. And at one point, they got paler as they got older. But the Assamites have been changed in V5, the current edition. They're still the Children of Hakim, but they're now known as Banu Hakim and not the Assamites. So if you hear me not thinking and switch between the two names, that's why. So, the Assamites are, again, very much assassins. Every vampire clan, when you make it, there's some rough stereotypes how the average member of the Banu Hakim views the average Bruja, the average follower of Sed, etc. The types of backgrounds and havens that, these characters tend to have, the type of attributes they tend to focus on. You don't have to do that, but that's the average Banu Hakim. Clan disciplines. Every clan gets 3 disciplines, basically 3 talent trees. And these will give you different abilities as you put your points in them. Celerity is vampiric super speed. It gives you a bonus to dex-based checks, which includes both melee and ranged combat. And you can spend blood points to activate super speed and get more actions per turn. Obfuscate is basically the ability to hide in shadows, temporarily turn invisible, make yourself appear to be someone else, things like that. Quietus is a form of blood magic focusing on creating areas of silence. It's the Banu Hakim, the Assamite core discipline in this system. Every clan has a weakness. This is something your character has to deal with. For example, if you drink the blood of another kindred, another vampire, you automatically suffer 1 level of unsoakable lethal damage per blood point imbued. If you try to diablerize another vampire, meaning you drink them until they have no blood left and then you try to consume their soul to gain power, automatic aggravated damage, 1 health level per point of permanent willpower the victim possesses. To put that in perspective, one, two, three, four, five, six. If your final health level is filled in with aggravated, you meet final death, you're dead. Period. An average character will have 4 to 5 willpower. Yeah. So, moving on. Assamites are on the table. In fact, I'm going to put this in chat so I don't forget. Oops. All right, Gangreller off the table. I will absolutely forget anyway. I'm good at it. Like, see there, I forgot to put a space. You can't see that. I don't know why I'm telling you. Okay. So the clans that are off the table for me, for us to talk about. Let me scroll back up. Gangrel are off the table. Gangrel are your more animalistic vampires. They are the ones who tend to... they get Protean as one of their major disciplines, which allows you to see in the dark. It allows you to heighten your animal-based senses. It allows you to grow claws that can deal increased damage. Later, you can transform into a wolf or a bat. It allows you to meld with the earth. And it allows you to eventually turn into mist. Lasombra are all about manipulating shadows. They also tend to be involved in a lot of religious power circles. Malkavian, as Time kind of mentioned earlier, they are the quote-unquote crazy ones. If you remember the old show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Drusilla was textbook Malkavian. Malkavians can basically see things that other people can't, but it fucks with their perception of reality. Nosferatu are your hideous, malformed, think classic Nosferatu, think the vamps from Dusk Till Dawn, the Quentin Tarantino movie, those. If you remember the old National Enquirer Batboy, Batboy would be a Nosferatu. Toreador are your very Anne Rice style, life is beauty and life is darkness, and I am a damned monster, but beauty is blah, blah, blah. So, looking at the ones that we have left, we talked about Assamite, Bruja. Back in the day, back in like the medieval times, Bruja were philosopher kings. Now, they're basically street punks. When this game was first made back in the 90s, they were very heavy with the communist movement. Very street punks, very... yeah, their nickname is the Rabble. They're all about rebellion. If you are coming again from that D&D background, and you are looking for a clan to play, my personal recommendation, you're going to want to look at the two easiest for you to play will probably be Bruja or Toreador. And here's why. They both have nearly the same clan disciplines. There's really only one difference. They both have celerity, which is that super speed that I mentioned. They both have presence, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's an aura you can summon around you to make people love you. You can't control their minds in the way that Dominate would, but you also can use it on multiple people at once. The main difference is Bruja get potence, which is super strength. So a Bruja is very much that kind of charisma barbarian. Everybody's gonna like them. They're gonna take 30 turns to your 1, and they're gonna be doing 90% of your health pool per turn. That's kind of their role. Their main weakness, while they're all about passion, um, they also basically have anger control issues, is the easiest way to put it. The difficulty of rolls to resist or guide a frenzy are too higher. You can also never spend willpower to avoid a frenzy, which there are times when you don't want to frenzy. Vampire the Masquerade, again, is not like a D&D game where it's all about going into the dungeon, killing everybody, taking their shit, and doing it again. Vampire is a game about personal horror. Yes, social intrigue. Yes, politics. Yes, manipulation. But above all of that, it's a game of personal horror. You are no longer human. Try as you might, you just aren't. How do you deal with that? That is the underlying question of any Vampire the Masquerade game. It's a bunch of characters who, whether they realized what they were getting into or not, have lost their humanity. How do you deal with that? Do you try to hold on to whatever scraps you can, trying to hold yourself to a higher standard so you don't fall into damnation? Or you just say, fuck it, I'm a monster, I'm going to have fun. That's the underlying core of any Vampire the Masquerade game, is how you deal with that. So, again, you frenzy really easy as a Brujah, which can be very, very bad. Because in a frenzy, you can't really tell the difference between friend and foe. You can't tell the difference between threat and orphanage. You just act. Followers of Set. In V5, 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade, Followers of Set are another clan that got a name change. They're now known as the Ministry. So if you hear me say that, that's the Followers of Set. Same principle. So what you're going to want to do there, Tom, is you're going to want to give him a little bit of your blood, because vampire blood is addictive, and it's definitely not a cocaine allegory from the 90s. And then you don't have to deal with it, because he will kill anybody to get more blood from you. Of course, he may also kill you to get more blood from you. That's tricky. But Followers of Set, their whole thing is corruption. I got what you need and you're going to want it. That's their whole thing. They're all about the devil's deal. I personally don't see this character as that. This character is more Chaos Gremlin, like I said. Their clan disciplines are Obfuscate, which we talked about earlier. That's the ability to hide in shadows, to make yourself look like someone else, etc. Presence, again, that's making people like you. And then Serpentis is their clan-specific discipline. And that's all about, as the name implies, mimicking the abilities of snakes. Or Ancient Egypt. One of your high-ranking abilities allows you to remove your heart, which is one of the only ways normally to kill a vampire, right? Stake him in the heart. In Vampire, that doesn't kill a vampire. Stake paralyzes them, as long as the wooden stake is in the heart. And then you decapitate him, and that kills him. But basically, yeah. One of their abilities is like the old mummification process. You can remove your own heart and store it somewhere in a jar so that you're immune to being staked. Their clan weakness, They react negatively to bright light. Whenever they take damage from exposure to sunlight, they take 2 additional health levels of damage. And they lose 1 die from dice pools for actions taken in bright light. Police spotlights, stage lights, flares, etc. Gangrel, as I said, is off the list, so we're going to skip by. Giovanni. The Giovanni are one of my favorite clans. Malkavian is my favorite clan, but the Giovanni are great. If you've read the Dresden Files, the White Court are Giovanni. The big difference is necromancy. The Giovanni are basically necromancer, Italian mafia vampires. Which is just a fucking sentence. Their clan disciplines are Dominate, which is mind control. Potence, which is again that super strength. And Necromancy. Necromancy and Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy is blood magic. Necromancy and Thaumaturgy both have paths. So in the same way that in Dungeons and Dragons, older editions... Now that's a bad example. Anyway, when you put your first point into Necromancy, you choose a path, and that becomes your primary path. So, Path of Bone, which is all about raising zombies. Path of Spirits, which is all about summoning spirits, blah, blah, blah. Necromancy has a bunch of different paths. I kind of like Giovanni for this character, but we're going to go through all of them. Before I get to that, weakness. So, the Giovanni are one of 2 clans in the core rulebook that weren't an original clan. Instead, their founder, Tremere for the Tremere, and Augustus Giovanni for the Giovanni, long story short, found an antediluvian, a 3rd-gen clan founder vampire, performed a ritual, and stole their power. Both the Tremere and the Giovanni are kind of looked down upon. The Tremere have been much better about integrating themselves into current power structure, whereas the Giovanni remain more independent and family-focused. But they both stole the power to become a vampire rather than being one. Because of this, their weakness, the kiss of a Giovanni vampire, meaning when you drain blood from a mortal. Normally for a vampire, it's ecstatic, right? I drink your blood and you just fucking came. With a Giovanni, it's excruciating pain. When a Giovanni feeds upon a mortal, she does twice as much damage as the kiss of another vampire would inflict. If you take 1 point of blood, the victim takes 2 health levels. Because of this, Giovanni tend to use blood banks because most vampires try to hide what they are from mortal society. Alright, so Lasombra is again off the table. Malkavian is off the table, which makes me sad. Nosferatu is off the table. Ravnos. Ravnos are... Alright, I'm going to use the word. I'm not a fan of this word, but Ravnos are your gypsy archetypes. They're the nomads, the wanderers. They're your Guidos. They're your... Look at the fucking picture. That says everything. Most Ravnos come from Romani or Indian stock. Their weakness: when you make your Ravnos, each Ravnos has a penchant for some sort of vice, lying, cruelty, theft are the examples given. When presented with the opportunity to engage in your vice, you have to make a self-control roll. Sorry. Your 3 disciplines. So animalism is the ability to talk to and control animals. Chemistry is basically illusion magic. And fortitude is the ability to take a punch, to absorb frankly stupid levels of damage. Oh, I might as well explain it now. One of the main things about fortitude, so there are 3 damage types in Vampire the Masquerade: bashing, lethal, and aggravated. Bashing damage is exactly what it sounds like. I hit you with my fists, I hit you with a club, I hit you with a rock. Bashing damage. Bashing damage is really hard to kill somebody with. Vampires are naturally resistant to bashing damage. Lethal damage is cutting damage, so swords, things like that. Lethal damage can kill, hence the name. Aggravated damage is not only more damaging than the other 3 types, like it is the top of the tier, it is extremely hard to heal. Aggravated damage is basically the kind of damage that you are supernaturally weak to. So for most vampires, that would be things like fire, that would be things like sunlight. For some vampires, that includes things like silver, etc., etc. I know lethal damage can kill. That is absolutely... I'm glad you're here on my stream because you would never know that otherwise. So, Toreador, as I said, they're kind of the Anne Rice style. We're all about beauty. They are off the table. Tremere are your spellcasting archetype. As I mentioned, Tremere are one of the only clans that stole the ability to become a vampire from someone else. That's right. I'm here to help. Follow me for more. Like and subscribe. I'd say click the bell, but I think that's a YouTube thing. I don't think that's a Twitch thing. So, your 3 abilities for the Tremere are Auspics, which is your ability to see the unknowable. It's your ability to, similar to Protean, heighten your senses to superhuman levels. Later abilities include the ability to read objects. Like I can pick up a hairbrush and see who used it last, if it was used in a crime, that kind of thing. The ability to see somebody's soul, their aura, that kind of thing. Dominate, as we mentioned, that's mind control. And then thaumaturgy is blood magic. So, weakness. Blood bonding is something I will go over later, if at all. Very simply, if you drink from somebody 3 times, from another vampire 3 times, you essentially fall into a twisted version of love with them. They become the most important person in your life. You may not love them, you may hate them. You have very strong emotions towards them. Thank you, thank you. Wait, there are no stars on Twitch. Shit. Tremere. Your first drink counts as 2. Your sire, you are automatically bloodbound to at rank 2. Your elders of the clan, often, if you're embraced, they will immediately, you are going to drink a little bit of my blood so that I have control over you. Even more than the other clans, the Tremere, again, organization, the hallmark of Clan Tremere is the pyramid, the rigid hierarchy that governs the clan and makes it the most organized of all the kindred lineages. That's 100% true. Other vampires may talk about, yeah, I'm a member of the Camarilla, yeah, I'm a Gangrel. With a Tremere, you are a Tremere first. Everything else is a distant second. Zamichi. I love Zamichi. I love one of their abilities. Zamichi tend to be monsters. They also tend to be very controlling. They are very much that traditional Dracula archetype in the sense that I am bound to my land. Their weakness is they must rest in at least 2 handfuls of quote-unquote native soil. Earth from a place important to her as a mortal, such as the soil from her birthplace or the graveyard where she underwent her embrace. If you don't do that, you get weaker and weaker. Your clan disciplines, animalism, again, the ability to talk to and control animals. Auspics, the ability to see the unseeable. And then vicissitude, flesh crafting. Both yourself and others. If you have ranks in medicine, it's either the 2nd or 3rd rank of vicissitude that allows you to fleshcraft yourself to perfectly mimic someone else, including their voice. And that is just such a stupid ability in a game like this. It's great ability. I love it. Stupid ability. Ventru. Ventru are your blue bloods. They are the... back in the day, I was a king. Now I am a CEO. I am the true master behind the throne. I am the one who sits on the throne. Mortal society dances to my whims. They don't even know I'm real. That's a Ventru. Ventru tend to be extremely arrogant. Their main weakness is they have rarefied tastes. They are so arrogant and so picky that filters through them to the type of blood they are allowed to drink. So when you make your Ventru, you have to pick a type of blood. Like, I can only drink blood from redheads. I can only drink blood from virgins. I can only drink blood from outlaws. Something like that. Other blood does not give you substance. You vomit it back up. You can only drink from your type. So that can be mildly entertaining. I like the Ventru. If you're new to Vampire the Masquerade, I would not make one as your first character just because that weakness can be extremely hampering if you're not prepared for it. It's great. Highly recommend you make one. Just know that going in. So their clan disciplines. Dominate, again, that's mind control. Presence, again, everybody likes me. And then fortitude. I can take a hit. A classic Ventru will let you attack them. They'll survive whatever you do. And then the next morning, the power structures that they control, the ghoul that they have who works in city government, will have your home set up for demolition and destroyed. In the middle of the day. Sorry. That's event true. So those are our clans. As I mentioned, Lasombra, Gangrel, Malkavian, Nosferatu, and Toreador are off the table. For this character, we want to put some points in demolitions, which for us will be crafts. And we're very much that chaos gremlin. We're just going to be fucking around and having fun. So, looking at them, I like playing against type. You guys who are listening, do you have any recommendations? Because right now, I am seriously looking at Giovanni or Tremere. I haven't played a Giovanni in a while. I really like the idea of just this chaos dude who's all about their family, and they very much they want to be kept in line, but they don't want to fall in line. I'm going to give you just a minute to respond. And keep in mind, towards the end, if we have time, I will be walking you through making your own character if you want. So, Ministry does not have Protean. That was the followers of Set in this version. They have Obfuscate, Presence, and Serpentis. So let me go to Serpentis again, because it's been a while, and that's one that changes with every thing. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. So, the Protean was Gangrel, who are off the table. Serpentis, at character creation, you're probably not going to get more than 3 ranks in a single discipline. So, looking at the first 3, you've got Eyes of the Serpent. Your eyes become gold with large black irises. Where was it? If someone looks into your eyes, they're immobilized. Until you take your eyes off the victim, they're frozen in place. So that's basically a single target lockdown. Tongue of the Asp. Does this still do... Yes. So, you basically lengthen your tongue like a serpent's, and it becomes a weapon. And it does ag damage. If you wound your enemy, you can drink blood from the target on the next turn as though you'd sunk your fangs into the victim's neck. It also acts like the kiss, so if you use that on a mortal, they're helpless with fear and ecstasy. You can have any penalties related to darkness, because your tongue is highly sensitive to the vibrations like a real snake's. And then Skin of the Adder. You spend a blood point and a willpower point. Your skin becomes scaly and mottled. Makes it easier for you to soak damage. You can use your stamina to soak aggravated damage from claws and fangs, but not from fire, sunlight, or other supernatural energies. It also makes your bite more powerful, and you can slip through smaller openings. Your appearance drops to 1, and you're obviously inhuman. So, those are 3 really good abilities. It's not quite Protean. At rank 4, you can turn into a cobra. And then rank 5 is the one I was talking about earlier, where you can remove your heart from your body for safekeeping. Oh shit. Yeah, let's move that up so that picture isn't on the screen. Sorry, Twitch, don't demonetize me. I love you. That is a decent pick. Oops. You know what? I think I am going to go with the Followers of Set. I think I will go with the Ministry for that. So, come on. And the Sire, I will figure that out later. Now, attributes and abilities. Do they have it down here? Yes. At the bottom of the character sheet, they have how many you get for each section. So attribute 753. You'll notice our attributes are divided into 3 categories: physical, social, and mental. You pick one category, you have 7 points. Pick another category, you have 5. Your third one, you have 3. So for this character, again, looking back, I have presence, which makes people like us. I'm chaos incarnate. I'm manipulative. I can make myself look different. And then I have my scaly shapeshifting. We're going to go with mental as my final. My tertiary, so my 3 points. Physical and social will be my 2 bigger ones. Right. One other thing you'll want to do is go back to your disciplines. Again, obfuscate, presence, and serpentis. This is something I do to help shape my character. We'll start with serpentis. Look at what's required to use that ability. So, Eyes of the Serpent, no roll is required. Tongue of the Asp, no roll is required, but that does give me an attack. And then Skin of the Adder, no roll is required. So, bad example. But, going back, presence. So, rank 1, Awe. Player must spend a blood point and rolls charisma plus performance. So I would just make a mark. For the first couple abilities on what those abilities want you to roll. So Dread Gaze is another scaring your opponent, freezing your opponent ability. This is charisma plus intimidation. And then entrancement is appearance plus empathy. And then my last one was obfuscate. Cloak of Shadows is, again, no roll is required, but this is all about stepping into an out-of-the-way shadowed place and hiding yourself from sight. Unseen Presence, same thing. No roll is necessary, but it's all about not being noticed. And then 3, Mask of a Thousand Faces, is the ability to make yourself look like another person. Manipulation plus performance. No, I would not recommend Microsoft Edge. So, again, 753. We'll go ahead and put our 3 here. 5 is human max. 5 would be your, like a 5 intelligence would be your Albert Einsteins, your Stephen Hawkins, that level. 1 is you're bad at it. You're the type that can't figure shit out. You're the high school dropout, etc. You're maybe not Gronk Smash levels of stupid, but you've definitely got a GED. That's horrible. No, you're good, dude. We are not going to edge Microsoft. I refuse. So, with us having a lot of abilities that will require our more social attributes, let's go with that as our 7. And then 3, 4, 5. We're going to go with a very agile character. They've got average strength, they've got average stamina, they're pretty standard. But avoiding, moving, running, that's really where their wheelhouse is. So, 7 points. And again, remember the first dot in each does not count. You get that for free. So, charisma is going to be our main one, followed by manipulation and appearance. People naturally want to follow us, they naturally kind of like us, and we're going to manipulate the shit out of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's pretty good. All right, so our attributes are done. And then same thing here for abilities, talent, skills, and knowledges. We're looking at 1395. So, one main thing to remember here is at this point in character creation, I cannot go above a 3. So we'll do our 5 first, because that's the easiest. That's almost certainly going to be our knowledges. A point in medicine is always good. A point in politics is always good. We know who we have to bribe. Point in finance, we take care of our own money. Let's do 2 more ranks in politics. So 3, 4, 5. We absolutely know who is who in the political structure of the city, whether vampire or mortal. We know who to bribe, who to take care of, who we need to talk to do what we need to do. I will be right back. We are going to take just a minute break. Be right back. All right, sorry about that. Just got out of ads. Yeah, I have that kind of timing. Sorry about that, everybody. Unfortunately, oh, excuse me, professionalism in action. Unfortunately, with the weather change, it's messing with me. But, so, for abilities, we chose our 5. Our little Chaos Gremlin, Chaos Goblin, has a firm grasp on the movers and shakers in the city. So 13 and 9. Performance, regardless, we want a max because we have multiple abilities that rely on performance. Intimidation, as well as empathy. So now the question is, do we want to make talents 9 and have 3 points left? Or do we want to make this 13 and have 7 left? Looking at the remaining abilities, alertness versus awareness. Alertness is your ability to detect physical threats. Awareness is your ability to detect supernatural threats. That's the difference between the two. Athletics, pretty self-explanatory. Brawl, pretty self-explanatory. Expression. It's your ability to get your point across clearly. I have very little ranks in that. Specialties. So, with expression, you can choose a specialty in expression even at less than 4 dots. Here's what specialties do in Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition. Remember me mentioning how dice pools work, right? You determine what you're going to do. You add up your appropriate attribute, your appropriate talent, or your appropriate ability. Roll that many dice. If you roll a 1 on any of the dice, it subtracts a success. So, for example, with one of my performance ones, it was DC 7, and it was charisma plus performance. So I would roll 4 dice from my charisma, 3 dice from my performance. Any dice that showed up as a 7 or above would be a success. 2 through 6 is a failure. It doesn't count. Any 1 not only doesn't count, but it subtracts a success. I only need 1 success to succeed. With a specialty, if I roll a 10 and my specialty applies, that 10 counts as 2 successes. So, for example, acting is an expression specialty. If I'm trying to put on a performance, if I'm acting, and I make my check, every 10 would count as 2 successes. For intimidation, veiled threats, pulling rank, physical coercion. Please note this list is not the end-all be-all. You can talk to your storyteller. Add as many as you want. Make whatever you want. Leadership is pretty self-explanatory. Streetwise, subterfuge, all pretty self-explanatory. These are all good for this character. What were my... One second. Obfuscate, present, Serpentis. Let's go ahead and put these down right now so I don't forget. Come on. And Serpentis. So, I don't have any celerity right now. Skills. Animal can. So, most animals instinctively don't like vampires. They react to them. Sometimes they automatically attack. Sometimes they cower, whimper, whatever. Most animals automatically sense that you're a predator and you're not to be fucked with. There is a merit that you can take in offensive to animals where they won't do that. And then animal ken is your handle animal skill. Crafts we absolutely need points in because crafts explicitly covers demolitions in V20. And that is one of the core things I want for this character. Again, setting-wise, for those of you who joined recently, this is going to be set in 1984 Seattle, Washington. Drive. With no ranks in drive, you can drive an automatic car at the speed limit. You can't go over the speed limit. You can't do any tricks. You can drive without any ranks in drive. Technically. Etiquette's exactly what it sounds like. Firearms. Larceny is your ability to break into places. Probably want a point there, at least one. Melee, exactly what it sounds like. Stealth and survival. Survival tends to be your ability to survive out in the wilderness. Very simplistically, streetwise is the city equivalent to survival. That's not exactly right, but for this purpose, that's basically what it is. Hey, time. Fuck you. Fuck you. No, you're good. I like to make characters that leave a lasting impression in this setting. That's just my thing. It always has been. As time so eloquently pointed out, I can go to an arcade and play a beat 'em up if I just want to kill some shit, right? Like, I have Diablo on my PlayStation. I don't need a story-based game for that. If I'm going to be playing a game with a story, I want to fuck with the story. I want to interact. I want to make something. I want to blow something up in this case. So I tend to value things like leadership. I tend to value things like crafting in my characters. You know, I tend to play the guy who, what's that? We cleared out this abandoned mine of goblins. It's our mine now. Let's go ahead and hire some people to work it. There's rules for that, right? We can do that. That's me. Because that's where fun happens. So, with us having Serpentis, that tongue attack, That leans me more towards Brawl. So 3, 6, 9. If we stop right here, that would give us... This is 9 and this is 13. So I'm going to think about that a little bit more. Drive, we probably want 1 rank in just so we can do some shit if we have to. Melee, I'm not worried about. Brawl is not our first, despite how good at it we are. That is not our first option. Our first option is to get people to like us, to manipulate, and then we can worry about kicking their ass. 3, 6, 7, 8. Let's put a point in stealth so we can get away. And I kind of like that. So this will be our 9, which means talents is our 13. So we've got 9, which means we have 4 points left. 1, 2, 3... 4. There we go. So, let's remove those X's since we don't need them right now. Disciplines. We get 3 dots to distribute among our disciplines. Obfuscate is always good. 2 ranks is basically invisibility. It breaks if you try to do things like open doors, etc. But being able to just straight out hide is great. Presence, as we mentioned, was really good. Going through it a little bit more specifically, rank 1 is awe. Those near you desire to be closer to you and become receptive to your point of view. Great for mass communication. You spend a blood point and roll Charisma plus Performance, difficulty 7. So again, I would roll Charisma, which is 4, Performance, which is 3. So I would roll 7 dice. Every dice that's 7 or above would be a success. So success, you get 1 person, 2 successes, 2 people, all the way up to 5 successes, which is everyone in your immediate vicinity, an entire auditorium, a mob. They can use willpower points to overcome the effect, but they're yours. Danger breaks the spell of fascination, as does leaving the area. But they will remember how they felt in your presence, for good and ill. Dread Gaze is, again, you're intimidating the shit, you're revealing your true vampiric nature to someone, and scaring the hell out of them. So you would roll Charisma plus Intimidation. Again, for us, that would be 7. Versus their, Courage plus Wits? Yeah. Success means they're cowed. They're cowering in fear. If you fail, they're startled but not terrified. If you get 3 or more successes, they're booking it. And each success subtracts 1 from the target's action dice pool's next turn. So not only are they scared, but that's causing them to hesitate and they're not able to act against you as effectively. You can attempt to Dread Gaze once per turn against a single target, so this is a single target action. You can also just keep doing it turn after turn, adding successes. Once the target loses enough dice that they cannot perform any action, they're so shaken and terrified they curl up on the ground and cry. A botch at any time indicates the target is not at all impressed and may even find your antics comical and are immune to any further uses of presence by the character for the rest of the story. So that kind of sucks. But it is what it is. Entrancement is again appearance plus empathy. For us, that would only be 6, but that's still a solid dice pool. Due to what these individuals see as true and endearing devotion, they heed your every desire. Since this is done willingly, instead of having their will sapped, they retain their creativity and individuality. So, basically, rent a minion for a little bit. Up to a year with 5 successes. I'm not worried about summon. So that's if we really go hard in presence. And then Serpentis is again, rank 1 is that I meet your gaze, you're immobilized until I look away. Tongue of the Asp gives us our attack. I really want at least rank 2 of Tongue of the Asp. Rank 3 makes us better at biting. It does lower our appearance to 1, and it's obviously inhuman, so we have to be careful where we use it. Let me scroll a little bit. I forgot about that damn picture. Again, Twitch, I love you. Please don't demonetize me. So let's do, for this character, 2 points in Serpentis, and we'll do 1 point in presence for now. Now, we will get freebie points to spend in a few. Virtues. So, one other important thing. You see here where it says humanity/path. All vampires have what they call the beast. It's basically that little voice in the back of the head that whispers to you. Don't you ever just get so angry? Don't you just want to kill? That's the beast. Humanity or path is the way you deal with that voice. Very simply. A vampire following humanity attempts to maintain normal human values, normal human morals. Basically, you're trying to maintain your shreds of humanity. There are other paths that are completely alien. For the purpose of this character, we are sticking with humanity. Your base humanity... Nope, we'll get there in a second. So, at character creation, a character's humanity is equal to conscience plus self-control. Can we... So, conscience and self-control. Alright, we've got 7 virtues. Conscience, self-control, and courage are pretty self-explanatory. I don't see this as a character that has a huge conscience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to go that way. Which puts their humanity at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And their base willpower is equal to your courage, which is 4. Basically, yeah. If you start acting more inhuman, your humanity will, by default, go down. If your humanity ever hits either 1 or 0, you become an unplayable character, or your character becomes an NPC. The DM takes your character sheet, you make a new character. You've given into your beast. Your beast now has full control over your body. And it's gonna suck. Again, Vampire the Masquerade is a game of personal horror. It's trying to maintain the essence of who you are against all odds. So, backgrounds 5. These are... I don't want to just say exactly what they sound like, but it is. It's basically the shit that's happened in your past that you now have because of that. So, any of your allies, mortals who support and help you, family, friends, even a mortal organization that owes you some loyalty. Some of these we will not be able to use. As I mentioned, this is going to be a Camarilla game. Camarilla is one of the major factions in Vampire the Masquerade. So Black Hand membership is no. Alternate identity, exactly what it sounds like. You have a new identity that you can act as. The more dots you have into it, the more powerful it is, the more respectful it is, the harder it is to break through it. So, allies, contacts, and then retainers are a later one. The main difference between the three. Allies are groups that you can call on to help you. Contacts are people that you can reach out to give you information. They won't go into combat with you except in extremely limited circumstances, very extenuating circumstances. But you can rely on them to get you some basic information. And then retainers are, this is my boon companion, they are with me all the time, this is Jeeves the butler, blah, blah, blah. That's a retainer. Yes, you yourself as a player, if your humanity ever reaches 1, you as a player get sucked into the void. You are now in Vampire the Masquerade. Fun fact, the World of Darkness is not somewhere you want to get isekai'd to. No, it's a bad idea. Don't fucking do it. Don't do it. But Domain. Domain is your haven where you sleep during the day, and it's physical territory that you control with access to for the purpose of feeding. Fame is... status is in here as well, right? I'm not remembering that from a further... Cool. So, fame and status. Fame is your fame in mortal society. Status is the vampire society equivalent. So, if you're playing a character that was a former news anchor or actor, or, you know, someone with a lot of fame in the mortal world, you would pick fame. If you've been doing a lot of shit in the supernatural world, you go for status. I would watch it, yes. I would watch the shit out of a World of Darkness isekai. I would not want to be in a World of Darkness isekai. It's it's not as bad as, but it's like Warhammer 40,000, right? Like, there are fans of Warhammer 40,000, but while a Star Trek fan may want to live in the Star Trek world, or a Star Wars fan may want to live in the Star Wars world, a Warhammer fan does not want to live in the Warhammer world. It's a bad place. Don't do it. Same basic principle. So, generation. If you don't take any dots in this trait, you begin play as a 13th gen vampire. That is very important for anyone listening who has played in previous editions. Generation was something you had to put at least 1 point into, or you started as a ghoul, a mortal with a little bit of vampire blood given to them. You were never embraced. 13th gen is the 0 gen option. That's... Boo. Again, generation is basically how pure your blood is, how far away you are from Cain, the first vampire. A higher generation, lower generation, makes you more powerful, but it also makes you a target. I plan on making myself a target enough, so we're not going to put too many points, if any, into generation. Herd, again, unlike contacts or allies or retainers, where these people are your pawns in one way or another, herd are people that you know, a group of mortals that you can feed from without fear. Again, if you're a actor or a singer, they're your groupies. A cult leader, cult members, things like that. Influence is your ability to manipulate in the mortal world. So again, at 1 dot, you're moderately influential, a factor in city politics, all the way up to the global level. We are absolutely going to look at influence for this character, because it just fits with everything that we've done so far. Mentor, I'm not going to pick it, but a mentor is somebody that is your mentor. Pretty self-explanatory. The more ranks you have in it, the more powerful your mentor is. That is very much a double-edged sword, because mentors can be disappointed. Resources, that's your money. Resources are always good. Having a dot or two. Rituals is another Sabbat only, so we're not going to go over that. Status? Again, fame is mortal society. Status is vampire society. We're going to stay away from that for now. Let's look at... We want some resources. We do want... Tell you what, I am not going to have a domain. We're going to live a little dangerously here. I do want some contacts. Cool. So we've got that, we've got that. Now, freebie points. Before we spend our freebie points or bonus XP, merits and flaws. They're pretty self-explanatory. Merits are... Nope. One moment. Appendix. There we go. So, merits are certain things about you that make you a little bit better at tasks than others. Flaws are where you suck. They're divided into 4 categories: physical, mental, social, and supernatural. And they do a bunch of different things. There's enchanting voice, for example. Whenever you try to use your voice to persuade, charm, or command someone, reduce the difficulty by 2. That can apply to things like presence. That's a very good one for this style character. Daredevil, you're good at taking risks, even better at surviving them. When attempting exceptionally risky non-combat actions, such as leaping from one moving car to another, add 3 additional dice to your roll, and negate a single botch die that may result from such a roll. That's good, but I already took that on my Gangrel character, and I'm not trying to just remake. But flaws. I always recommend, once you've got your character in your head, looking at the flaws first. You can take as many flaws as you want, but you can only gain 7 points. So, for example, hard of hearing here is a 1-point flaw. That will give us 1 additional freebie point to spend on character creation. We can take every flaw in the book if we want to, but we can only gain 7 additional points. So, for our Chaos Gremlin, right now I'm just going to put a couple down. If you see one that you like, say it in chat and I will go to it. There's Smell of the Grave. I don't really like that for this character. We're going to be doing a lot of social. Tick Twitch is possible. I'm not going to go with 14th or 15th gen. Dulled Bite, I kind of like that, combined with our tongue. But we also have, we'll be getting Serpentis rank 3, so we'd be biting anyway. Infectious Bite is definitely a possibility. We can't automatically lick the wounds of our people we feed from closed. And our bites have a 1 in 5 chance of becoming infected and causing mortal victims to become ill. Open Wound is interesting. I don't really like it for this character. Addiction is always great. We're not going to take Child. I'm not going to play that style character. Lazy is funny, but we're not going to do that. If I can't hear my enemies coming, I'll die. So, no. Infertile Vitae. I can't embrace. That is interesting. Do I plan on making any other vampires? Blind. I can't see. Alright. Going to the mental. Impatient. No. Chaos. Yeah, let's do impatient. So, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that actually is our 7. Infectious Bite 2. All right, so we're going to stop there with those. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, rules as written for 20th anniversary edition. We're now at 22 freebie points. Merits can only be bought at character creation. The DM that that's running this game will allow us to switch out later if it makes sense, if it represents something that happened, etc., etc. For example, the Gangrel that I'm currently playing initially had the merit friendly face. They were just naturally one of those people that you looked at and you felt you could trust. However, she went through a lot of shit and became a little bit more jaded, a little bit more cynical, a little harder, and lost that merit. But looking at the different merits, this is again a very social character, so let's start at the social. We want this to be someone who manipulates, someone who... They're the one you go to get things. Even though you know that's going to cause a lot of bullshit, they're the ones you go to. So I kind of like something like Elysium Regular. You're seen, you see and are seen to such an extent that all of the movers and shakers of Elysium at least know who you are. Also gives you extended opportunities to interact with the Harpies and other kindreds of that stature. They'll know your name when you approach them. basically you're recognized as someone that is connected, which is what we want for this character when they're not blowing shit up. Harmless? No. Um I also kind of like former ghoul. So again, a ghoul is someone to embrace someone as a vampire, you drain a mortal until they're dead, give them a drop of blood, and then they come back. With a ghoul, you give a drop of blood to someone who is not actively being drained and killed. They're nowhere near as strong as a vampire, but they do gain enhanced abilities, and that blood is generally addictive. So, former ghoul, because again, you've been exposed to vampire society long before you became a kindred. You're in a -1 difficulty on all social rolls when in the presence of other neonates. Um, and have a -1 difficulty on all rolls related to vampire knowledge. I kinda like that for this character. Did we do any ranks in? Not yet. So Boone, I'm not a fan of Boone as a merit. It's a very nice merit. It's a very dangerous merit. Basically, somebody owes you a favor. The problem is, somebody owes you a favor, and they may not want to. Sanctity, you are trusted even if you're not trustworthy. You tend to receive lesser punishments for wrongdoing, and most people tend to like you. Everyone considers you pure and innocent. Um, we're gonna take that. We're absolutely gonna take that. I'm just a little guy, just doing things. Sometimes things happen. That's not my fault, per se. Scholar of enemies, scholar of others, we're going to skip for now. Um, Rising Star. Um, eh. That's a good one, but not for 3 points. Clan Friendship. There's a clan that likes me. We're going to skip Flaws because, again, we've already got our 7. All right, Supernatural Aura. Deceptive Aura. You register a mortal on all attempts to read your aura. That is a good one. Healing Touch, inoffensive to animals, I talked about earlier. I really like Spirit Mentor. There's also Oracular Ability, but we already have 2 other people in the group with that, so I'm going to avoid that. Hidden Diablerie. So, Diablerie, as I mentioned, was draining another vampire to the point of final death for them and then devouring their soul. If you do that, and you can gain a portion of their power. They can also kill your spirit and possess your body if they're far stronger than you. In addition, your aura has telltale black streaks. If you are caught diablerizing someone, it is almost immediately a blood hunt. You killed another vampire, you drained them. No, you're a threat, you're gone. Every vampire in the city has carte blanche to execute you on sight. Sorry. That is a good one if I plan to do a lot of diablerie. I don't. Honest. Medium is a fun one. Medium, again, I see dead people. True faith is too expensive. And again, you must have a humanity of 9 or higher to choose this merit. Our humanity is like 6. Unbondable, you're immune to being bloodbound. That's nice. That's absolutely handy. I don't really like it for this character. Sometimes I need someone to rein me in. So let's go ahead and do medium, just because no one in the group really has a way to interact with the dead. And that can open up some avenues for us. That was a 2-pointer, right? Yes. So, we had 22 freebie points. We've spent 2, 4, 5, 6 of them. So we're now down to 16. Going back to character creation. Freebie points. Consult the chart on page 82. Nah, fuck it. You can see it without me scanning it. Alright. So, this is how much everything costs. So if I want to raise my charisma up to 5, because I plan to do that a lot, it's going to cost me 5 freebie points. I have 16. Discipline costs 7. Do I want to get up to rank 4 Serpentis? What was the rank 4? Form of the Cobra. Changes automatic, takes 3 turns. My stuff transforms with me. A 10-foot long cobra. That is nice, but I don't think that is that many points worth of nice. Skin of the Adder will give me a lot of survivability. So let's go ahead and get Serpentis rank 3. That's 7 points. So we're now down to 9 freebie points. What was our presence rank 2? Rank 2 was Dread Gaze. Rank 2 was our Scare People. So let's go ahead and rank 2 presence. That leaves us with 2 freebie points left. One virtue, 1 dot or 2 dots in willpower. Let's raise our willpower. Cool. So, one last thing we have to do is specialties. I mentioned them a little earlier. We're going to go through and choose a specialty for any of our attributes or abilities that are rank 4 or higher. So for us, that would be dexterity and charisma. And we can go back here for examples. So again, dexterity, precise, swift, feline grace, lightning reflexes, things like that. I kind of like precise. We don't want to be in combat, but when we do, we tend to very much go for that surgical pressure point style fight. And then charisma, graceful, smooth talker, forceful, urbane, witty, eloquent, hustler. We're going to go with smooth talker. There is our little chaos goblin demolitionist. He knows the movers and shakers in the political scene to get himself out of trouble. Things just kind of happen around him. It's not his fault. He's got some influence. He's got some money. He knows a couple people. He can be a little intense, a little scary at times, but he's always empathetic. He can fight. Always great at singing and putting on a show. I will come up with a name for him later, but that is our character, and that is how you make a character in Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition. All of the different World of Darkness games, whether we're talking, again, Vampire the Masquerade, whether we're talking Changeling, Werewolf, Mage, etc., follow that same basic character creation process. It is a little different for each game, so absolutely read through. But generally speaking, if you can make a character for one system, you can make a character for any of them. And at this point, it is 1:54. We are going to be doing a raid to another channel in just a minute. Does anyone have any questions on the character creation process? I will give y'all just a minute while I look for another channel to raid. All right, so thank you everyone who hung out with me today and participated. I greatly appreciate it. It was cool talking to all of you. We're going to be rating Leona Beans. I don't know who they are, but it looks like they're doing a As the Wilds Wither Session 6. So, raid is now started. Again, thank you everybody. Y'all take care, be safe, happy holidays, and I will see y'all next time.